Hi everyone, welcome to You Got Nothing. We just wanted to put our best faces on for the next podcast. So welcome to episode 7, I think. I don't know. Eventually we're going to stop.
Probably figure out what episode we are on so we can start saying it.
I don't know. Does every podcast say what number episode it is? I don't think most of the ones I watch do. So the only reason I put it on there is because I literally looked at the Jen and Julian podcast and was like, how do they format their titles? Okay, I'll do it like that too. I mean, I do love them, but also just I want to have a reference point to look somewhat normal because I don't know what I'm doing. Although I'm learning. I am learning. Yeah, I got our stuff on
whatsoever.
I got our stuff on Anchor, which is a thing that helps you get your podcast on all the platforms, and so I got on there, and that's made things a lot easier. So now it's the audio only version, and now I'm trying to figure out how to make it audio only, because I edit the videos, but I'm trying to figure out how to just take the audio from that. Anchor says it does it, but it keeps saying oh, that doesn't work. So then I have to go back and manually edit the audio track. So anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Are we on Apple Podcasts yet? Because that's when I'll start listening to us.
Okay. Well, they said it might take a couple days or something, but their Apple Podcasts is one of the ones on the list for them to put it on there. So
very good, because that's when I know that we'll made it enough for me to listen.
Okay. We have to be a big deal at that point. So I really needed a podcast this week, or I just needed to interact with human beings. Because I've been the last 2 Mondays have been the most Monday. I slept in past my alarm last Monday, and then I forgot to do a thing at work, and it caused all sorts of fun problems. And then yesterday my brain stopped working. So I need human interaction. I think I'm losing it. Yay, people, yay. Yeah, I feel at this point, I did a telehealth doctor's visit on my lunch break, and I felt I was trying to make that more of a conversation than it was. No, we can keep talking, it's fine. How are your kids?
Be my friend.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you when you need to intervene. I was playing Candy Crush this week, and so they're doing this thing right now where it's the crush is real, and they're creating levels where Candy Crush players create the levels or whatever, and they show a picture and they put a little blurb from them, and this girl was Candy Crush is my best friend. She straight up said that Candy Crush was her best friend, and I'm like, Melanie, if I ever tell you that a game on my phone is my best friend, please step in.
Honestly, I feel if you said that to me, I would just be right on. I'm into Cookie Jam, you're into Candy Crush, you're there for us in times of need.
Look, I appreciate you being supportive, but best friend is over the line for me for an app. And if you ever told me that Cookie Jam was your best friend, I would step in.
What if I said Cookie Jam is my most important relationship?
I would be very concerned, given that you have 2 best friends and a boyfriend and 3 pets. I would accept any of your animals as the most important relationship. That I understand, but a game that's I'm questioning your sanity a little bit.
Good to know.
Yeah. So just if I ever get to that point, just know
I'll get on a plane.
What's that?
I'll get on a plane if you ever say that.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because also my car died for the 4th time.
From not driving it?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, the first time it was it had been almost a month since I had driven it. Sure. Then the second time it had been almost 2 weeks. The third time it had been not even a full week, and then today I literally drove it twice yesterday. And so like my stepdad said that it was like, so the battery charger like partly charges it, like it gets it just going, and then like driving it, and you like the alternator is what gives it the rest of the charge, which I don't know enough about cars, but I assume he knows what he's talking about.
Mm.
And so that's why you're supposed to drive it for an hour, which like I was planning on actually doing tonight, but then it wouldn't start. And so I don't know what's gonna happen. So that was just one more thing on my week. So that's why I'm like, I'm one step closer to becoming best friends with Candy Crush. So especially if they keep doing like they've been doing infinite lives every once in a while, and that's when the real danger starts. Because
Cookie Jam does that, but they only do it like they give you like 2 hours of infinite lives, or like every once in a while they'll give you like 12 hours of infinite lives,
mm-hmm.
and then so it's like really random when they give them to you, and so it's like always like I have to stop what I'm doing to play Cookie Jam for 2 hours because I can't waste all these infinite lives.
Oh, see, with Candy Crush, what they've done is they would do it for like, because it's only been during quarantine where they've done it this long, but it was like 2 days or like 3 days. So
Wow.
I've been able to get a little bit more of a break, but still like that's what I have to do because I have to take full advantage of this time.
Definitely.
Yeah. But again, it's dangerous, and I just, if you don't hear from me for a few days, just like ask, reach out, see how Candy Crush is doing.
I have an emotional issue right now with somebody. Just a second.
Okay.
Come here.
Okay, one sec. I'm gonna get water too.
He's crying because he's not able to jump up on the bed.
Oh, poor baby. Yeah, Bames is also muy needy, but he gets my attention very, very easily. It's funny because since I've been charging my car because it keeps dying, the easiest charger for it to plug into is one like in the kitchen. Like you've been to my house, so it's like right around from the garage. Because I think there are plugins in the garage just on like the other side, or it's behind something or whatever. So I just been doing it there, but that means I can't close the door to the garage like all the way, so it's like cracked open. And so Bames gets like super tempted by that, and he just wants to go in the garage. So
he's like unknown space.
Yeah. So on Sunday, yeah, I was like, whatever, I'll let him go in the garage. The door's closed, it's fine. Well, one, they like bumped the car charger, so one of the things came off, which like no one got hurt or nothing bad happened, it just wasn't charging the car. And then they also had clearly climbed on my windshield because there were cat paw prints, and they were both filthy. And so then I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that while the car's charging anymore. That's probably was a bad idea. And then even though like everything was like pretty safely connected or whatever, but anyways, then yesterday the garage door was closed, or the door to the garage was closed, and he was sitting there meowing, and I was in the living room, and I was like, I bet he's standing in front of the door of the garage. I go over and look, and he's standing in front of the door, like looking at me like, meow. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll let you in the garage. So now it's like his treat that he gets to go and hang out in the garage for a little bit.
Well, that's what we tell the dogs. We're like, they really, really love to go somewhere. Like, Milo, you want to go? Like, do you want to go somewhere? Then both him and my mom's dog Jenny, they'll get very excited. And so what we do is we open the door to the garage, and they run around in the garage and then come back in, and they think they've been able to go somewhere.
Honestly, like Baines probably thinks the same thing. Just like going in the garage, it was like, oh my god, it was an adventure. But he also doesn't like. Well, I don't know. I've never had him just in the car without like in a kennel of some sort. So I feel like he could get used to that and he might be actually okay with that. But Danny, I don't know, no matter what, I think she wouldn't be happy. So, like, she wants to explore, but not in any sort of contained way. She wants to do it her way. And yeah.
Well, she is the queen.
She's a queen. Like, yeah. And oh my God, today, so I told you I had a rough day, and I'm not like gonna go into it on this, but like, for all of this to happen on the 1-year anniversary of the worst day of my life, the season 8 premiere or finale and series finale of Game of Thrones, like, how dare you, world? Just
they wouldn't have
it
either way.
Stupid
world.
Yeah, it's not okay. Like, I'm just starting to like process the grief of that episode and what it did to me, and now you want to just do this, so fine, I guess that's what I have to do. The universe is telling me, no, you need to stay in. So after work today, I was wearing kind of like my regular makeup, and then I decided, like, no, I need to make my makeup more appropriate for the occasion. So this look is called Dead Inside, but purple.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was having a lot of fun. I keep feeling like it shows up better like on camera than it was.
Really good.
Yeah, thank you. I was like pretty impressed with it because I feel like in the bathroom it didn't seem as good, and maybe it's just I have better lighting in here because I have 2 windows. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so you were gonna do facts about all the places you lived?
Yes. So I'm not as good at this as you are, because you always have like great talking points and stuff, but I feel like I'm just gonna like yours, we went into a whole like really great conversation about earthquakes and like earthquake stories. And I feel like mine are just like 10 facts or that I'm just going to read, and then it's going to be like, okay, that's interesting, and then move on.
I'm sure we'll find stuff to talk about. Although it's funny, I was having, like, I realized something that I enjoy lately is coming up with wrong answers for multiple choice questions is super fun.
Yeah, as a teacher, I can confirm.
Yeah, like that's something we were doing. We were creating quizzes for stuff at work, and there were stuff that were not anagrams, when each letter stands for something. My brain's not working right now, but
yeah,
like coming up with new ones for that. So like instead of debt to income ratio, I was finding other things that stood for that use the same thing. So that was
acronyms.
So fun. What acronyms? That's the word. I was like, it's not anagrams, but it starts with an A and it's 3 syllables. Have to give you clues. Yes, that. But yeah, no, coming up with multiple choice or wrong multiple choice answers. So maybe we could do that along the way, like as you give me stuff, we can say other things that could be true but aren't.
Okay, so.
Oh, and by the way, in honor of the occasion, this is a picture I took in Idaho with the clouds in the background. So nice. It's in Idaho because that's where you live.
And it's funny, I didn't even think about Idaho.
Well, so I'm representing the Idaho piece. That's what we got.
It's Alabama, Texas, and Germany, and I forgot about Idaho, where I currently live.
It's all good.
So I'm going to start with Germany. Okay, so true or false? University is free for everyone, even non-Germans.
I believe that is true, if I remember correctly, because either we might have had a conversation about it, but I also, like, this was several years ago, but like the last college course I took, I actually did a report on Germany, and that was, I think that might have been one of the things.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah. I was thinking I needed to move to Germany for that reason.
Yeah, we should like both go and get some degrees.
Oh, heck yeah.
Speaking of degrees, I just started a new degree on Monday, like last Monday.
Yeah.
I'm back in school, so
Congrats on that.
fun stuff. But yeah, and then I don't have, like, this is where I talk about me not being good at this. I don't have any additional comments to make on that. That's all I have.
Well,
Like,
we
I
can
feel
talk
like
about.
you would have been like, and 70% of Germans do.
You just gotta go down the full rabbit hole, but no, like, the. Well, I was gonna say we could comment on your degrees or something like that, like the degrees that you already have.
So if anybody's curious, because I'm very proud of them, I
Mhm.
have a bachelor's degree in English literature, and then I have a master's degree also in English literature. I have a teaching certification, and then I'm working right now on a master's certificate in educational technology. So
See, like, that's a great talking point, and I mean, I am someone who.
none of them were free.
Yeah, oh no, not free. Yeah, that could be a whole like podcast talking about like, let's talk about our educational system. And yeah,
You want to know how far in debt I am?
oh god, see, and this is like, so I am on the opposite side of the spectrum here. I was an overachiever in high school and then got to college and my brain stopped working for school. And so I've tried and failed multiple times to go back to college and it did not work out very well. So I am going to perhaps I like I want to go, but I haven't been able, like, I've seen the struggle that you've had with student loans and I know several other people who have, and I'm afraid to do it and to be able to afford owning my own house and paying bills and food and whatever and a student loan, like, and pay and have extra money set aside for college, like it's not going to happen. Not anytime soon, unless you subscribe to this podcast and make us famous. Yay! Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, not everybody needs a degree though. Like, you're successful,
Mm-hmm.
so
True, but
like,
yeah, no, I mean, I just like, you should be proud of your degrees,
I definitely am.
and more people should be able to get degrees, but money is a big reason why they don't do that, or they end up struggling with it for years, even though like they're doing great things, and that's ridiculous. So I could rant about that.
The master certificate that I'm getting now is paid for. Like, I'm not paying for it, but
yeah,
the other ones I did. Well,
right. So that's still like, that's a lot. And I mean, I could get on my soapbox about that. Like, I'm that person who's known to, once I get on a topic, I will go off. I was there was a couple weeks ago where I was invited to a birthday party and I was told not to get in fights with anyone. And first I didn't even realize they were talking to me. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, like, don't get in an argument. I was like, oh, okay. Because like, physical altercations, it pretty rare for me. Pretty rare, I would say. Arguments, on the other hand, depends on what it is. I try and keep my mouth shut depending on the circumstances, but there are times where I can't help myself. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll just like do a bunch of rants because I got lots to rant about.
Well, we kind of did that with our, like, don't get me started.
True. One time at a party, everyone decided that they were going to vote for me for president because I got on I don't even remember what the soapbox was about. I just remember that everyone decided I was going to be president after that, and I'm like, cool, yeah, sure, that makes sense.
President. The world would be a better place.
Thanks. I mean, like, it doesn't take much to improve on our current one. And that's the end of that.
Okay, next fact.
Mm-hmm.
In Germany, escaping from jail is punishable by death.
That would be, Oh man, that seems harsh. I feel like maybe in the past, but that can't be true now. Like Germany seems like real legit now. Like they got it going on. I'm a big fan of Angela Merkel. I feel like that's false.
It's false.
Okay, I was like, wait, really?
It's the true fact is that there's no punishment for trying to escape from jail because it's basic human instinct to be free.
I feel like I've heard of something like that before, but yeah, like I don't know. I think that there's something to that. I mean, I don't know if I quite agree with like no punishment, but like they
They
get
have
put back
to
in jail. Right?
overcorrect from their past. Like that's what they have to do.
Yeah, like if they're going back to jail, I mean that's its own punishment too. But like I don't know.
But yeah, that's that one.
Interesting. Okay.
That's all my Germany facts.
Okay.
So moving on to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is the most populous state in America.
No, that can't be true because I mean, since it's like the second biggest, there's the most room for people, but like with New York and California, like I don't know. I'm gonna say that's false.
You're really good at this. It's false, but it's the second most populous state. California
Okay.
is the first, and then
Okay.
Texas is the second.
Okay. Because I was like, I know that like Texas, like it said, it has more room and it does have several like big cities. So it's like that could almost be true, but I'm like California is also huge and has like some of the biggest cities.
I might actually be able to tell you how close it is for this one. Let me look back at my thing. It just gives me the population. It says Texas is second with a total population of 28,701,845, which means that almost 10% of all Americans live in the state. So 10% of Americans live in Texas.
So you got to give that to Texas. We in Alaska, we talk big game about having a big state, but we actually like that there's not a lot of people up here. Like most people I know in Alaska are like, oh, tourist season, which I know a lot of people feel that way, but like Alaskans are very happy to have their space. I don't know if Texans are on that same plane. Like
I feel like Texas, like even with it being really populous, they still have plenty of space.
That's true. I was gonna say they have like some pretty like small town areas in Texas and some pretty like more country sort of things, like more rural areas. Because yeah, Alaska has a lot of that.
I feel like I don't know this for sure, but I just think from like what I know about Texas that Eastern Texas is more populous than Western Texas.
Yeah, I think because
that's where like all the big cities like Houston and San Antonio and Austin and all of them, they're like over on that side of the state.
Yeah, like my one of the guys in my department went to college in Texas, and he was talking about, I don't remember which side it was. I want to say it was East Texas, but I could be wrong. But he was just saying that the area he was in, like there's nobody there. It's like the college town, and then that's it. Which is kind of like my brother. My brother went to Wazoo, Washington State, and that's like literally like it's a college town. Like if their school's not in session, there's like no one there.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Okay.
I skipped one. Wow, I have a lot of Texas facts. Okay. Dr. Pepper was invented in Texas.
I feel like that's true. I think that's a thing. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I also feel like it's not like outrageous enough to be identified as false. Like, what else could I say? Like, no, Dr. Pepper.
No, it was in Oklahoma. It was right on the border, actually.
Like, if I was doing like Dr. Pepper facts, that might have been a better one.
I mean, like a couple weeks ago at work, we were doing like a presentation because we were like reopening everything at work or whatever. Not reopening like the buildings, but reopening our department. and we did like a different theme every day, and one was nailed it or failed it. And so I was talking about famous failures in history, and one of mine was Colonel Sanders, because Colonel Sanders was rejected by like, it wasn't an ungodly amount. It was like over 1,000. It was 1,409 or something. Like, it was a very high number of restaurants rejected Colonel Sanders before he created KFC.
Oh,
and I thought that was a really weird fact. And I also included Albert Einstein and J.K. Rowling and Oprah, because they had all had famous rejections.
So does that mean he applied to like over 1,000 restaurants?
Yeah, like that's what it said, and I looked it up on a different website, and it said the same thing. So I was like, okay, like, I don't know. Yeah, pretty crazy.
A lot of applications to put through.
Right? Like, I don't know how long that would have taken. I don't know how.
Especially if like back in the day of, I don't know how old he is, but
nor do I.
but that, like, if they were all handwritten and then you were having to, well, I don't know how things worked back then.
Exactly. I don't even know when back then was, right? So
like, it could have been like the 1980s if we're talking about
Oh, you didn't know KFC? It's been around since like prehistoric times. He actually chipped it into stone. Before Kentucky was Kentucky, it was Pangea Fried Chicken.
PFC.
11 herbs and spices was just like a sprinkle of sand. Like, that's what we had back then. So it's whatever herbs just happen to be around.
Use what you got available.
Pangea Fried Chicken. That's a good stuff.
Next one. You can be married legally in Texas by publicly announcing a person your husband or wife 3 times.
I know. I remember in like elementary school, I used to read those books on like weird laws, and then those kind of things have made their rounds on the internet too, on like weird laws. I don't remember that one, but that seems real stupid. But I know there's a lot of those that like haven't been repealed and still stay there. I'm gonna say it's false, but like,
it's true.
Oh.
I almost considered like making this false by saying that they would have to publicly announce it like 5 times, and then I'd be like, no, it's only 3.
Oh.
Yeah, so like if we're ever in Texas, we could like announce each other. I could be like, Alexis, you're my wife, you're my wife, you're my wife, and then it would be true.
And then it's legal. Well, like, but how does that get recorded? Like, how do we? Like, we just go to the courthouse after that and be like, yeah, we already said it, so it's true. So give us all of like the marriage benefits. Like, I don't know how that.
I don't know. I guess that just means that you don't have to have like maybe you don't have to have a witness or something. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, because like it has to be written down somewhere. I don't know. Like, if that's what counts, then like. But there are like tax benefits to like being legally married. So like, how does that? I don't. I'm very curious about this now. Like, I want to know how this translates. Okay, that's a fun one. I always like those. I mean, like, some of them are infuriating because there's some stuff that's like discriminatory, messed up, but then that kind of stuff is like kind of hilarious and weird, and I like.
Well, there's one that I didn't include on my list, but it was something like, in Texas, it's illegal to ride your horse at night without taillights.
Imagine like some taillights on the back of your horse, like.
So yeah.
It's like that one, what was it in Parks and Rec? Like, we have to throw Ted into the lake instead of T. And then they had like, instead they had to represent someone who represented Ted. And then they had all sorts of other things that were in the Pawnee Charter that was like, oh, if you're a woman, Oh, there was just all sorts of weird ones, and then she like her and Patton Oswalt lived in the historical recreation area, and which is really funny because I've actually done historical. I do historical reenactment, except it's canceled this year. But like of medieval, we do the Renaissance Fair at the Three Barons Renaissance Fair in Anchorage. They do. Most of it's like acting and it's not historical. We do like a historical village, and that's really cool. But yeah, they had some weird laws there too. There was all sorts of laws, like medieval laws on like um what like fabrics you were allowed to use and materials. Because that was to help distinguish the classes, like, oh, only fancy people could have silk or have this color or whatever. I should do we should do a podcast on that because I got some fun medieval facts on like a bunch of weird stuff like that.
What was something that we did that we like grabbed the stuff and then we had to do this and then we chanted and then we passed it on to the next person.
Oh yeah, I forgot you went to that with me. Because you went to the one at the Highland Games. Yeah, that's right. But it's called Walking the Wool. So if any of you guys have watched Outlander, they do it on there. But it's basically they agitate wool because like wool fibers have these like burrs on them and they like kind of grab to each other, and so when you agitate it, it like pulls it together and it like fills in all the gaps. So like any space between the fibers, it like fills it in, so it makes it more water resistant and warmer. So that's what you're doing. And so then traditionally they would use urine, or especially stale urine, on there and agitate it.
Which is what we used.
Oh yeah, we straight up like they took us around the back, at least they were real nice about it, and let us like pee in the bucket and then brought it back out. And this was in like 80-degree weather in Alaska sun, which is actually like it's a lot more it touches a lot more of your body. Melanie can attest to this. Like it's
true.
Even though 80 degrees in Alaska, like in the rest of the lower 48, I could go on about this, sorry, but it doesn't feel as hot as like the
it's
lower
like, it's like,
or does it doesn't seem as hot, but it feels hotter because it's at a different angle, and so it's in, whereas other places it's like hitting just the top of your head and like other spots.
Yeah, it's like here in like other places, so it's just hitting like here. Yeah. Where in Alaska it's like here, so it's hitting like here.
I don't know if that quite like demonstrated it, but like, but it's it's at an angle, so it's like the sun is hitting more surface area of your body. And also Alaska is not prepared for any sort of heat, so we have no air conditioning. Like no one dresses for it. Like, well, I think people do now. I mean, people wear shorts in 40-degree weather here, so dressing, actually, that's not the problem. But air conditioning is a big thing. We don't have it here.
It's very.
But anyways, wool walking, out there, stale urine, 80-degree weather, just real hot. No, we used water, but traditionally they do use urine because the urea like also helps with, I feel like it helps with the dye process too, if I remember correctly. Like it helps the dye adhere better to the fabric, but it also helps agitate it like somehow. So yeah.
Next fact.
Let's do it. More facts. Tell me.
Okay, gotta pull it up.
Okay.
Texas is the only state that can fly its flag higher than the United States flag.
I feel like that sounds true. Like, I don't know because I bet like Texas would say that, and then like the federal government would be like, nah. Because, we have all those fun like discrepancies between like federal and state law. That could be a really interesting thing, but I don't. I feel like that's false, but like it's like Texans do it anyways. Like,
so it is false,
okay.
But Texas is the only state that can fly their flag at the same level as the United States flag, and it's because it used to be its own nation. So they're like allowed to, I think they're allowed to secede like whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, I do remember something like that. That's why it sounded right, because it was like they used to be their own nation. There was a whole, remember the Alamo and all that jazz, which I mean, I remember the Alamo specifically. I don't remember like a lot of the other things about it, unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I lived in San Antonio, which is where the Alamo is. I've been to the Alamo a million times, like on field trips and all of that kind of stuff. Like, we would take, every time somebody visited, we would take them to the Alamo. But the extent of what I remember is what it looks like too, and I don't really remember what it's about. I mean, like Davy Crockett, like that sounds.
Yeah, I know it was like a Mexican-American War, right? Like,
I don't know anything.
I feel like, okay, I remember that.
They have a really cool tree there.
Okay. I really want to go to Texas. I especially want to go to Austin, because I've heard like so many great things. Like, Austin's one of those weird places. It's one of those like liberal places in a conservative state, which like I feel like that's kind of Anchorage.
It's Boise too.
Yeah, and that vibe for whatever reason really resonates with me, I guess because that's kind of where I'm from, but like that, I like that energy. And also they just feel like real weird and interesting, and I like that.
Yeah, like keep Austin weird. That's like their
yeah. Yeah, like well, Eugene from the Try Guys, which I will continue to bring up. He's from, technically not from Austin. He's from Pflugerville, which is like just outside of Austin or something. But yeah, they did a whole video where Eugene kind of showed him around, and I know my mom's been to San Antonio and said it was a great time, and like I want to go. And also, there's a thing about bats. I think that's Austin, where like there's like a bridge across a river, and there's a bunch of bats that live underneath it, and every night like the bats like fly out or something. I think that's in Texas. I don't know. But I know we have bats in Alaska, but I have never seen one, and I find them fascinating, and I've seen them at like the Oregon Zoo, and that's like it. So I don't know, that just seems...
Yeah, bats are neat.
Yeah.
I remember going to a cave one time on a field trip when I lived in San Antonio. I'm sure there were bats there. Maybe
it was San Antonio. I feel like it was somewhere in Texas, but yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's bats like everywhere, right?
But there's like, it's like an event like every night. Yeah. Because it's like on the river. I feel like it is an Austin thing, but oh man,
well, I mean, San Antonio has the River Walk.
Oh, maybe that's it then. Because the River Walk, that sounds right. Like, because I feel like...
I don't know, let me Google it really quick. Let's see.
Sure. No, because in like the Try Guys video, I don't think they did the bats there. I think someone else did something with bats, but
yeah, it's in Austin.
It's in Austin. Okay, see, I remember things. But yeah, they did. There's like they have a bunch of like rooftop bars, and there was one that had like a slide from the top to the bottom. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
That sounds fun. Maybe our next trip should be Texas.
Okay, we can do Texas. Well, we said Hawaii last time, but like I know we just have like a list.
We'll add Texas, Hawaii, then Texas.
Okay, cool.
And maybe like one like overseas somewhere. We should go to Germany.
What, from where? What?
Germany. I want to go back to Germany.
Yes, I'm down. Yeah. I mean, anywhere in Europe, honestly, like I'm down. So I'm basically down to travel anywhere, honestly, but like Europe, I know I like, and there's places I haven't been, and Texas I haven't been, but I want to go. In Hawaii, I'm always down to go back too. So yes, everywhere.
Okay, next fact.
Okay.
The first successful live heart surgery was performed in Alabama.
I feel like that's probably true. That makes sense to me. I think. Yeah, true. Yeah, okay.
Alabama is the most religious state in the United States.
I mean, I feel like that area, it would make sense for one of those states it's part of the Bible Belt, right? So like that makes sense. But I feel like there's like another one that's not it. I feel like it's probably like one of like, it's like second or something. So false.
It's true. Alabama is the most religious state in the United States.
Okay.
Alabama is the birthplace of Mardi Gras.
I feel like that's one of the controversial ones because I feel like I've heard you talk about this before, and I feel like I've heard other people talk about it before. So I'm gonna say it's true.
You're right. It is true, and
Okay.
this is something I feel very passionately about because, it was first brought to Mobile, because Mobile is very French, and so Mardi Gras was brought there, but then Prohibition happened. And during Prohibition, there was no, like, we weren't allowed to celebrate Mardi Gras. And New Orleans in Louisiana did keep celebrating Mardi Gras during that time or something like that, because they didn't have the same Prohibition laws or whatever that we did at the time. Mm-hmm. So anyways, so they became known for Mardi Gras, but it actually started in Mobile beforehand. And then after Prohibition, Joe Kane correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, anybody watching this, but I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head the history of it. But Joe Kane, after Prohibition, brought back Mardi Gras to Mobile, and we started celebrating it again. And so the Sunday before Fat Tuesday every year, we have like a full day of parades and everything. And we have parades like for weeks leading up to Fat Tuesday. But then the Sunday before Fat Tuesday, we have a whole bunch of parades. And it's Joe Kane Day, and they have Joe Kane's wives that like dress all in black. And anyways, they they have a parade for Joe Kane. And then we have Fat Tuesday too, where there's all obviously days full of parades. And then Mobile also has like Mardi Gras balls, and it's like very like traditional. New Orleans has all of the like flashing and stuff, the like hard partiers.
Right.
Where Mobile still like parties hard a little bit, like parties, but not to the extent that New Orleans does, where it gets like dangerous.
Right.
And Mobile is a lot more like steeped in tradition and like the fancy balls, the like secret societies that put on the parades and all of this kind of stuff. So that's Mardi Gras did originate in the United States in Alabama, but Louisiana is more known for it.
No, because I want to, like, I've never been to Mardi Gras. I've never been to, honestly, like, any of that area. I did go to, oh, sorry, I got weird hiccup burps. I did go to Disney World as, like, a baby, but that's, like, the only time that I've been in, like, that section, really, of the U.S., so, like, I mean, if we're going to Texas, I feel like we could maybe hit other places along the way, because I
would love to show you like my hometown.
Yes, like absolutely, I'm down. So
let's add that.
Add that to the list. Yes. Honestly, like, one, I love travel anyways, but like I've definitely been getting some cabin fever, and even more so now that my freaking car is not working.
We should do a trip like how me and Nick did last summer, where we drove from Idaho down to Florida. Me and you should do that.
I'm down. Yeah.
Because I feel like he's such a like stickler about like money and stuff that like we couldn't stay like for very long in one place because it required more time for the hotel, like more money for the hotel and stuff. So we kind of like had to rush through everything, where I feel like me and you, we would be more like, we could take more of our time.
Yeah. But, no, I mean, I'm always down for more traveling, because I definitely, yes, want to see your hometown. I want to go to New Orleans. I want to do all that jazz, because I've actually been like eating a lot more Southern food lately. I learned how to make blackened chicken. That's delicious. I have like a bunch of things on my list, because I've been watching I've been watching him for a while, but Binging with Babish on YouTube. He like recreates food from TV shows and movies and stuff. So like there's an episode of The Simpsons where he goes to where they go to New Orleans, and there's a whole sequence where Homer Simpson like eats all the food in New Orleans, and Babish recreated it. Well, his name's Andrew Ray, but he goes whatever. Anyways, he recreated it shot for shot from The Simpsons to do that, and then he did like they do like basics with Babish, where he's just like teaching you how to do things rather than like recreating food, because they'll like recreate it and then like make a better version, because obviously like a lot of food from TV, like it's like it's another one from The Simpsons where it's like Homer's moon waffle, where it's like waffle, a stick of butter, caramels, and liquid smoke, like literally in there, and he made like a good version of that, because he'll recreate it accurately and then he'll make it good. But he's done a lot of Southern food stuff, was the point that I was trying to make. And I'm like, I want to try that, I want to make that, and so I want to try it for real too, and then also learn how to make it.
Well, yeah, and then hopefully we'll be in Disney World next month. And we can have I can like show you some of that food down there too.
Yes.
But, I mean, like Florida's like its own thing, but still has some Southern.
Yeah. No, Florida's got some energy. Well, it's funny because the most recent season of Big Mouth, they go down to Florida, and I know Miami, and I know what I see on like TV shows and in the news and stuff. So I know about like the crazy Florida, like always, Florida man. So I know Miami, and I know that, and then they were showing like the swamp people essentially, like, and I was like,
that's the Florida like my dad is from, is
okay.
Like, well, I mean, he's from a beach town though, so he's beach town, but also like redneck,
that sort of thing. Yeah, like I said, I'm from Alaska, so I know like what I know. So that's probably anyone who wants to talk about like misconceptions about their state, I'm sure there's probably a bunch about Florida, although it seems like a lot of them are also true. So I don't know, but
it's an interesting place to be. I like, obviously my mom's from my mom's side of the family's from Alabama, my dad's side's from Florida, so I know a lot about Florida. I've spent a ton of time in Florida, just never like lived there. It's definitely a place for sure.
Putting a lot of faith into it there.
I really do love Florida though, even though it's got some wildness to it.
I mean, it's true, like that's true of Alaska too. Like there's a lot of things that happen in Alaska that I'm not proud of or happy about. But yeah, it's still my state and I love it. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, like I obviously, like Alabama, where I'm from, is one of the most problematic states that like exists out there with its history and all of that kind of stuff. And so there's a ton of negative things that are just very obvious and clear about Alabama, that I don't feel like we like necessarily have to bring up in this lighthearted podcast. But even though it's like terrible in a lot of ways, it's still home. So
yeah. And I think that,
and then sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I feel like it's good to kind of help people recognize that there are good things about it too, because I feel like you said, there are some like reputational things, but that doesn't mean that like everything there, like there's still a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah. Like the food.
Important.
Last fact that I have.
Okay.
So, true or false, Alabama has never declared Christmas a legal holiday.
I mean, that feels like one of those like weird one-offs where it's like totally possible, but like it just doesn't feel right for Alabama specifically, because you literally said it's the most religious state in the U.S., which like it just I know it feels like you're trying to trick me. I'm like looking you right in the eyes. I'm gonna say that's false.
It is false. They were actually the first to declare Christmas a
Okay.
holiday.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, it's like what, like Mississippi, they didn't what is it? They didn't abolish slavery until like a couple years ago or whatever, after the movie Lincoln came out or something, like one of those weird one-offs where it's like, okay, it's not like they're doing it anymore, or at least I hope to God not, but like they're not doing it anymore. They just didn't like sign it off or whatever. And so like that, I could see how that could be a thing, but I'm like, that can't be real.
Speaking of like stupid laws or whatever, I think like just like super recently, like this year or last year, Idaho had the opportunity to get rid of a law that said like 14-year-olds couldn't be married, and they didn't get rid of that law. They were like, no, we're gonna keep that they can get married. And I was like, why?
What? Like, no. It's no. Why would you do that though?
Yeah.
Like,
So that's I live in Idaho. I don't have any kind of allegiance towards Idaho. So it might be best that I didn't bring up all of
oh no. Well,
Idaho.
like Alaska, it's funny because, you know, like I worked in a call center and the place I work for like serves all of Alaska. So I can tell you where all our like tinfoil hat folks live. So it's all right outside the populated areas. So right outside Soldotna, right outside the valley, and right outside Fairbanks. So if you don't know where those are, like here's a map of Alaska. Literally, this is how we were taught. I think is this the right way for you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so Fairbanks is like.
No, maybe not.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just gonna do it this way because it's easier, but you'll figure it out if you look at an actual map.
Yeah.
So Fairbanks is right in the middle here, and that's like the second most populous like city in Anchorage. And so there's like North Pole. The North Pole is like right outside of Fairbanks. That's where a buttload of the tinfoil hat folks live. So
Santa.
So Santa is a tinfoil hat person. And then there's like, I'm in Anchorage right here. There's like a little peninsula right here. And so a couple hours south is Soldotna, and like a patch of little towns there. And like there's a bunch of tinfoil hat folks there. And then like a couple hours north of Anchorage is the valley. And there's like a bunch of tinfoil hats right outside there too. And so like I had someone tell me that the reason they had fraud on their card was because of Satanists in the FBI. I'm like, yeah, of course, like that makes sense. And then I got some real fun ones. Like so Alaska's got like Sarah Palin's from Alaska, so that most Alaskans will tell. What's up?
Famous residents.
Yeah, like most people from Alaska are not proud of her regardless of what party they belong to. That's a fun fact. But yeah, like Alaska's like, I feel like kind of libertarian, where it's like if you don't bother me, I don't care what you do. For the most part. So like you don't touch my guns, I don't care about what else you do with your life. Like that's sort of the vibe, which overall, like I'm not there's some things that it bothers me, and there's exceptions to that rule for sure.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of the energy about Alaska, and so it
definitely is.
Yeah.
But look at this.
But I really what a precious baby boy.
He's so cute.
Oh, seriously, my cats have been killing me. Like they just, like Baines could tell I was having the last couple days were rough for me. He was like cuddling with me so hard the last 2 days while I'm working, and I'm like, that's fine. Like I'm okay with that. I needed it.
Let me show you like another picture. Hold on. So my baby cat, she just had her spay surgery, and here's
cone of shame. Oh, she's so cute though. Yeah, no, they're just.
Here's a little lampshade looking out the window.
Did she finally like calm down? So she was like all hyper after. Yeah.
So we had her surgery, and we're still recording, right? Like I can tell this.
Yeah, go for it.
So she had her space surgery, and then we brought her home from the hospital, and she was just like going nuts crazy, like jumping on everything. They're like, you need to keep her calm and make sure she doesn't jump on anything for 2 weeks. And I was like, okay. So we get home and she's like jumping on everything and like going nuts and like running into walls and like just like completely hyper, like her normal self. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's probably still on like pain medication and can't feel like the pain yet from the surgery. And anyway, so I called the vet and I was like, how am I supposed to keep this like cat calm? And they're like, well, tell us what medicine she took. So I had to like, because she was spayed at the Humane Society, but they were closed by the time I got home and like got her settled and stuff. So I had to call the emergency vet. So I had to look through my paperwork to find what medicine she was on. And I told them, and they're like, oh, she's probably hallucinating, because that's what that medicine does to cats. I was cracking up that she was like hallucinating.
Like your cat's just like tripping balls, running into walls, like.
And she like tried to jump on the couch and then fell backwards. And I was like, you are gonna rip a stitch and cost me so much more money. Like, but anyways, I ended up putting her in Milo's crate for the night and then covering it with a blanket so that it was dark. And she went to sleep, and then the next morning she was like completely calm and like obviously hurting and just like laying on me, just like, Mom, why did you do this to me? And anyways, and so now she's for the past couple of days she's been staying with Nick at his parents' house, because I was like, after that night I was so stressed about her like going crazy that I was like, if she busts a stitch, we live an hour from the nearest like emergency vet, like, and so he lives like less than a mile from an emergency like 24-hour vet. So I decided it would be best for her to stay there till she like heals up, just in case. But I think she's fine now, so I'll probably take her home. This wanted her to be near safety.
Yeah. No, like I got Danny, it was like a week after she got spayed. So Danny, for those of you who don't know, like I had wanted to get a new cat because I'd had one before who had passed away, and I was like, okay, I'm ready now. So I went in to the SPCA, and I had, it's funny because I had the name Bames in mind. It's from a Jenna Marbles video. I had been wanting to name a cat Bames because I was like, I love that name. I just think it's adorable for a cat. And so I was like, okay, I need to find a cat that fits that name. But then I went in and they had, they'd had 5 kittens. There were 3 left. And then there was another cat who was like tiny down there, but like slightly bigger than the other kittens. And we were like, we had gotten the kittens out just to play, even though I didn't think I was going to get one, because I wanted to get an adult cat, and I always try to get like black cats because people are less likely to adopt them because they're not like photogenic or whatever. It's harder to take a picture of them, even though my cats are adorable and they're actual models, so whatever. But we saw that the slightly bigger kitten was named Daenerys, and I have always said that I was going to name my first child or cat Daenerys, but my previous cat, like her personality just didn't fit it, and I was like, well, this is kind of fate. Even though there was another cat whose name was Anders, which I felt like had similar energy to Bames, but it wasn't right. And then I got Danny and found out she was the mom of those kittens, and she actually grew after I got her, so I'm like pretty sure I googled it, and like kittens can have kittens as young as 4 months, and their gestation period is 2 months, and those kittens were about 2 months old, because basically, so the lady at the place told us that whoever brought in Danny and her babies lied about the age of the kittens, And so they said that she was like 3 or 4 years old, but since they lied about the age of the kittens and she was tiny and grew after I got her, I'm like pretty sure she was less than a year old.
Yeah.
So she was teen
Tilly,
mom.
Tilly first went into heat at about 4 months, and then she was in heat several times before we got her spayed at 1 year. And so,
and I've never had to deal with this, but I've heard that cats in heat are obnoxious.
yeah, it was a nightmare. She was terrible, but they don't bleed, so that was good.
That's nice, but yeah, like, no, just like yowling and like rubbing out everything is what I was.
She would like back her butt up into things and like keep it in the air and just like.
Yeah. No, that's what I've heard. Like
very affectionate though.
Yeah. Yep. No, so Danny was just like a young teen mom, and I gave her we gave her a second chance, and she's loving it. It's funny because like when we took her out with the kittens, she was like mad at them. She was like, "No, get them away from me. I'm done with them." And we're like, "Okay, like we don't have to." So, and then we put them away, and then she just had a grand old time. She, like I said, so she was a week out from getting spayed. They'd just taken her cone off, and she was like jumping all over the place. And I got her home, and like once she kind of sniffed everything out, she was super active, and I'm like, well, she doesn't seem to be in pain, so I don't know, but yeah.
I'm like, they say to keep the cone on for 2 weeks. I don't like, I guess I'm like, as long as she's tolerating it well, I guess that's what I'll do. But it doesn't seem like she needs it, but like, especially because one of my friends was telling me that they do like a program where they take in feral cats and then they spay them, and the spay surgery is like easy enough on them that they're able to release them like immediately. So like those cats deal with it fine. Like I don't understand why she wouldn't deal with it fine. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you take it off of her and she's not like picking at her stitches or anything, like, then I don't see any reason why not. Like, I know, yes, I'm going to keep bringing up Jenna and Julian, but their dog, Bunny, they got a greyhound, like a full-size greyhound, who was a rescue, so she had a lot of, like, nervous energy or whatever, and she had gotten a cut on her paw, and so that she kept picking at, and so they had to get, I think they had to get it stitched up, I don't remember, but they had to put a cone on her, but the cone literally freaked her out so much that she almost hurt herself again. So they took it off and they just like wrapped up her paw or however, to keep.
Look at Milo. He got like, I tried to shave him like quarantine haircut, and he had a teeny tiny little nick. And I don't know if you can see how it's like the skin is, or the hair's darker here.
Yeah.
Because he keeps licking it. And I'm like, it's gone now. Like the nick is gone, but he keeps looking at right there. And I'm like, you need to calm yourself.
Yeah.
Look, he's trying to right now.
Oh,
my sweet boy.
Yeah, I mean, if he, like, I don't know if they keep looking at it for a long time. Like with Danny, I'm always, I think it's the first child sort of thing. Like you're just like, so like, oh God, could anything be wrong? And I feel like that's how it was with Danny a little bit. Like she, the first like summer that I had her, she kept like pawing at her ear and then like shaking her head and then like getting me to like scratch her ear. And so I kind of waited it out just to see, but then I brought her into the vet because I was like, well, she keeps scratching at it. It feels like there might be something there. And so they couldn't see anything, but they gave her like ear drops and stuff. And now it seems like she might have seasonal allergies because it does seem like this time of year she gets more of the itchy ear, but she hasn't done like the whole head shake, and she hasn't been as scratchy, but she definitely likes me to scratch like in her ear. Like I get nervous that I'm gonna like hurt her, but I asked the vet about it to make sure. I was like, she keeps wanting me to go in there, but I'm like scared I'm gonna hurt her. And she's like, she'll make sure, like she's not gonna let you like do anything. You'll know if like you hurt her. I'm like, okay.
Sweet babies.
I know, I love my babies. Pretty sure we could probably do a whole podcast about them. But,
Well, should we end it?
I think it's been about an hour and we got all our facts. So yeah, now we have several ideas for more ones too. So even though I already have like a running list. So everyone, thanks for tuning in for You've Got Malex episode 7. Like, comment, subscribe, click the double chin if you want to watch more. And have a great week. We'll see you next time.